And a big welcome back to Ask Coach Trista. Alongside Trista Francis, I'm Dave Erickson. Boy, very timely topic today, Trista. Keys to a successful off season, and you have officially begun. So, what do you have in store?
Yeah, so off season. I think the biggest thing to think about after you finished your last race is taking a good couple weeks off. And what that means is only doing something if you want to do it. Don't not going out there and doing a training session because you feel like you have to, you feel like you're feeling guilt or any of those sorts of things. And I think 2 weeks is kind of the minimum amount, recommended. I think 2 weeks is really important. If you're really dying to get out there and go for a 30-minute run, do it. But just realize that this is your weeks throughout the year that is time to hit a full mental and physical reset. And I think sometimes that mental reset is even more important. And then when you start getting back into activity, do it gradually, and don't get back to 15 hours a week. Do it gradually. Build, maybe one sport a day for a week or two, and then get back into it. This is also a great time of year to reintroduce strength if you have dropped off strength. Strength workouts are critical in helping to work out imbalances that have been created throughout the season. It rebuilds muscle mass. Sometimes I have athletes doing strength 2 times a week, maybe even a third of more plyometric sort of things. And when you get in there into the weight room, I recommend heavy weights. I recommend, don't get in there and do 20, repetitions. Endurance training is high repetition, and we need to, when we get into the weight room, we need to change that up. We need to be pushing weights. And so the way that would look is, maybe you start with 12 repetitions, make sure you have appropriate adaptation, and then you would drop to 8 to 10 repetitions and then down to 6. So really get in there and push the big weights. Another thing that's really important, I think, is making sure that you're changing up your activities. Cross training is awesome, and there's so many different things that you can do. And besides, it helps keep the mind fresh. Those things can look like skiing on the weekends, skate skiing, snowshoe running. If you're kind of addicted to your power numbers and your bike, but you're forced indoors, jump into some spin classes. Get into that environment. Have it be a little different. I think really shaking it up is really important. And then as you continue to build your base and get into more specificity, this is also a great time to really consider looking at a focus, whether it's a swim focus, or a cycling focus, in really maybe working on a limiter. And if you're going to do a focus, I recommend, 6 weeks, maybe 6 to 8 weeks on a sport specific focus. And doing the right things in the off season is what's going to really set you up for success for that following season. I feel like the things that I do with my athletes in the off season really determine how the season's going to go. And I think some people take it a little too casually. I mean, it should be casual mentally, if that makes sense. but it should, but it needs to have a specific focus, and there needs to be a specific agenda of what you're trying to accomplish physically.
So you're kind of talking about also planning out the next year, at least gradually building back into it during this maybe 2 week, 6 week period where you're transitioning out mentally, physically, emotionally.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So that's kind of where you build in, and I think it's important. I think within 2 months, you should be ticking along in a pretty good regimen. But that doesn't necessarily mean, for a multi-sport athlete that you're swim, bike, running, swim, bike, running, swim, bike, running. That can still look like, I'm doing those things during the weekend or during the week. I'm skiing on the weekends. There's a big storm. I'm going to go snowshoe running instead of, hitting the treadmill, those sorts of things. And then as that happens, then you can eventually progress into more race specificity and building into those first races.
You talked about how repetitious we are with our maybe straight movements, whether the running or the cycling, and well, swimming's a good variety. But what areas do you find with your athletes that they need to work on the most when it comes to some of this cross training or I don't know, strength building in the off season? What do they need to focus on that they maybe have neglected during their 6 to 8 months of focused triathlon training?
Yeah, I like to just find different ways to do kind of get the cardio or the aerobic training in. I feel like running is, definitely the sport that creates the most impact and breaks down the body the most. And I think if there's creative ways that you can continue to work kind of those muscles, but in it, so sometimes maybe they're on the elliptical, or maybe they're, they are, like I said, I think skiing is awesome. Snowshoe running is a totally different. There's not impact, those sorts of things, and then also the weights, like I mentioned. I think I personally have found more success with keeping the run volume lower and focusing on the strength and plyometric sort of exercises through the beginning part of, that base phase of periodization works far better.
So, what are you, Trista, looking forward to most in your off season?
I am looking forward to, I don't know. I think getting a little more social with my training again. I just finished racing this weekend, and Monday morning I woke up and I thought, I want to go to the gym and go to a spin class. And I thought, no, you probably should give yourself a day or two to rest up. So yeah, probably just being a little more social. And of course, hitting the slopes, being the fact that I'm in Colorado.
Now, let's say you're in a more warmer climate or tropical, maybe running on the beach with the sand. I mean, that seems to be a little less impact because of the give with the sand.
Yeah, absolutely. That is good, and that really works proprioception in the ankles, and that can actually be a very challenging workout. And so that definitely is good as well. Or taking some of those, strength or plyometrics down to the beach is a great idea. So get on the beach cruiser, ditch the TT bike.
Change your position a little bit.
Right.
Hey, if you got a question for Trista, use the hashtag AskCoachTrista on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you, Dave.